Chapter 2 is concerned with elements, atoms, and the periodic table, and we'll begin our discussion by talking about the elements. Elements are defined as substances that cannot be broken down into simpler chemical substances, and by this we mean they can't be broken down either physically or chemically. Well-known examples of elements that you're likely to see in your day-to-day life include the metals. You've probably observed that gold is a shiny yellow solid, iron is a silvery grey material, and if you're lucky, you might have seen some mercury, and mercury is a silver liquid at room temperature. It's often used in devices used to measure blood pressure and also to measure temperature. The natural abundance of different elements varies enormously. For example, about 90% of the universe is made up of hydrogen, and most of the remaining 10% is made up of helium. That is, most of the universe is made up of just two elements, hydrogen and helium. If we were to look at the composition of the human body, what we find is that more than 96% of the human body is just made up of four elements, oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. And the remaining elements are just there in trace amounts. Most of a human body is oxygen, followed by carbon, relatively large amounts of hydrogen, and smaller amounts of nitrogen. Every element has a unique name, and in addition to the name, every element has a unique symbol. The symbol will be either one or two letters. The first letter in a chemical symbol is always uppercase, and if there is a second letter, it's always lowercase. Now, sometimes the name of an element doesn't line up with the symbol. That is because some elements, their symbols are derived from Latin, and in one case, the element symbol is derived from German. So for this reason, you will always be given a list that contains both names and chemical symbols. So make sure to double check. Some places where people often get unstuck are when we're talking about potassium versus phosphorus. That's a really common one. Silver versus sulfur is another one. So any of these guys that have an asterisk next to them, I think there's about 17 in total. Those ones are ones where the name of the element doesn't line up with the expected symbol. So this question asks what element is represented by each chemical symbol, and all we need to do is go back to that previous table and look these guys up. So lead, if we go back to that table there, comes from the Latin plumbus, but the English name is lead. Sn comes from the Latin, I believe it's stannus, means tin. U, if we look in the previous table, we'll see is uranium. O, oxygen. And then F, this one's worth taking a note of, is fluorine. Note the spelling here, it's U before O. And all you're doing here is you're just looking these guys up in the table and making sure that you're not accidentally writing down the wrong name. Okay, so that concludes the video for section 2.1.